Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the 32nd installment of my Gi Oh Duel Links Best Deck series. Today I'm going to be showing you a deck completely built around Gandora, the Dragon of Destruction. If you guys like the video, make sure to leave a like, subscribe, all that kind of stuff, and let's get into it. Alrighty, so the character you're going to be using with this deck is Mokuba with the skill Monstermorph Evolution. This skill can be used each time your life points decrease by 1,500. Send a monster except a token on your side of the field to the graveyard. Then randomly play a monster that is the same attribute and type as the monster you sent to the graveyard, but is one level higher from your deck. The monster must be able to be normal summoned. This skill can only be used once per turn. So a bit later on in the video and in the gameplay you will see why this skill works with this deck, but to give you a brief summary, basically when you play Red Eyes and got Red Eyes on the board, you can then use this skill on Red Eyes to get your Gandora out of the deck. So the best part about this skill and why this skill works so well with this Gandora is because normally when you play Gandora, it will destroy itself at the end of the phase, since it destroys itself if it was normal summoned or flip summoned. So using this skill allows it to get around the special summon condition as well, since it's not allowing you to special summon. It allows you to get Gandora out the deck and keep it on the board permanently. Alright, now I'll go through the deck list. This deck contains 2 Gandora the Dragon of Destruction, 1 Red Eyes Wyvern, 3 Vanguard of the Dragon, 3 Red Eyes Black Dragon, 3 Red Eyes Insight, 3 Enemy Controller, 1 Mirror Wall, 2 Solemn Scolding, 2 Red Eyes Spirit. So obvious replacements for this deck would be the Mirror Wall for, let's say, a Wall of Disruption, because they're a pretty similar card. Mirror Wall is better for this deck since it helps you activate your ability, since it takes 2,000 damage off of your life points, so you can proc your ability the turn afterwards. So that's an obvious replacement. Another one, maybe Enemy Controller for, let's say, a Sphere Karibo, or even a Windstorm of Attackler if you don't have 3 enemy controllers. The Solemn Scolding, that's a preferred for me. You can replace that with pretty much whatever you like. It's just that's preferred for me because once again, it's a negate effect, so it's really powerful, and it gives you the, helps you proc your ability since it does damage to you. Alright, now I'm going to talk about the strategy and pretty much how this deck functions. So to put it simply, the basic combo is use Red Eyes Insight to get your Red Eyes Spirit out of your deck and put a Red Eyes Black Dragon in your graveyard. You can then activate your Red Eyes Spirit to pull a Red Eyes out of your graveyard onto the battlefield. Now, as long as you've lost 1,500 life points earlier in this duel, you can then activate your skill to turn the Red Eyes into a Gandora, the Dragon of Destruction. Now what Gandora does is it allows you to pay half your life points to destroy as many cards on the board as possible, and each time it destroys a card on the board, it increases its attack power. So important things to note about this ability is it increases its attack power by 300 for each card destroyed. It will destroy your own cards as well. And the last thing to note is that it doesn't actually destroy them, it destroys them, but it also banishes the card, it doesn't send them to the graveyard. Oh, and one final thing to note is that you can proc this ability multiple times a turn. So if you destroy all your opponent's stuff, and somehow he manages to pull something out of his graveyard onto the board during the same turn, you can then just activate the ability again, half the life points again, and destroy that card. So there are a couple of cards as well in this deck to support this basic combo. The first 2 are Vanguard of the Dragon and Red Eyes Wyvern. These are the cards you're obviously going to be playing early on in the game since they're level 4. So the Wyvern is pretty simple, basic effect. Once it is killed and it's in the graveyard, if you don't summon any other cards during the turn, you can then activate your Red Eyes Wyvern once it's in your graveyard to pull a Red Eyes Black Dragon out of your graveyard onto the battlefield and special summon it. Keep in mind, the Red Eyes Wyvern can also be targeted by Red Eyes Spirit and also Red Eyes Insight, so you can put a Red Eyes Wyvern in your graveyard using the Red Eyes Insight, then banish it at the end of the turn to summon a Red Eyes. The other monster card, Vanguard, is a lot different to Wyvern. What Vanguard does is you can activate its ability to send 1 dragon card out of your hand to the graveyard to increase its attack power by 300. So basically you're going to do this most of the time. You're going to send Gandoras out of your hand into the graveyard since you can't use their ability from your hand. You can only use the Gandora from your deck. So you can send Gandoras to the graveyard to buff it. You can send Red Eyes to the graveyard to be able to proc your Red Eyes Spirit if you just happen to have the Spirit on the board. And you can also send your Red Eyes Wyverns to the graveyard so then you can use their ability to get any of your Black Dragons out. A couple more things to keep in mind about this card is it can work multiple times a turn, so you can send as many dragons as you got in your hand to the graveyard to buff it as many times as you like. And secondly, it has an added bonus effect on the card where if it is destroyed by a card effect, you can then special summon one dragon type monster out of either player's graveyard to the board. So the last 3 cards in this deck are Solemn Scolding, Enemy Controller, and Mirror Wall. So what this deck used to use is Champion's Vigilance, which is the negate effect that works with normal monsters, so you just put that with your red eyes and you can just negate effects. But now, since that is no longer kind of viable, since you can only run one of them, I prefer to use Solemn Scolding. This card allows you to negate and destroy any card effects that is activated, so if your opponent tries to summon a monster, that will be destroyed. If your opponent activates any spell traps, that's destroyed. And if your opponent activates any monster effects, you can destroy them and negate the effect. Now, since negate and destroy effects are really powerful, there is obviously a massive downside to using this card. First of all, you will lose 3,000 life points, and secondly, you can only proc this card if it is the only spell and trap card you've got on the board. So most of the time, you're going to have this card on the board, and the aim is to use it when you know you can use your ability the next turn. So you activate your Solemn Scolding, it does 3,000 damage to you. This allows you to activate your ability. Plus, hopefully, you can delay the game using the Solemn Scolding so you'll have your next turn, and then you can get out your Gandora. This card's probably the hardest card to use in the deck. It's got a pretty high skills cap, so it may take a bit of work to try and learn how to use this card and when to properly use its effect. It can be really powerful against Cyber Angels, just to let you know, since they're really popular at the moment. Similar to Solemn Scolding doing 3,000 damage to you, you can also use Mirror Wall, which can do 2,000 damage to you. So again, when you know you can proc your ability the next turn, it's a good idea to just activate the Mirror Wall, which can protect your monsters, and also do 2,000 damage to you, so then you can summon your Gandora the next turn. And the final backline card, Enemy Controller, is fairly self-explanatory. It's used in just about every deck of Duel Links at the moment. It's so popular because it's so powerful and so versatile. You can use it in a ton of situations. You can use it when your opponent attacks you to negate his attack and change their monster to defense position. You can use it just to turn a monster defense position so you can attack them easily. You can use it to take control of their opponent's monster to try and last hit him for the win. You can use it to take control of an enemy's monster so it can't use its ability. It's just so versatile, so good, that's why it's in the deck. Alright guys, that's pretty much it for the talking part of this video. For the rest of the video, there's just going to be gameplay of this deck in action, showing you how it works, some of the cool little combos it's got. If you liked the video, please leave a like, subscribe. I do a video just about every week. Thank you guys for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one.
Kiddie pool. There's no way I'll lose. Not with the strongest deck in the universe.
I have never turned down a challenge.
Duel! It's my turn. From my hand, I activate a spell. I set a card. I'm setting a card. Full speed ahead. I summon a monster in attack position. I activate my monster's effect. I'm ending my turn.
My turn. I draw. Now is the perfect time. I summon a monster in attack position. My monster's effect activates. I set a card. My turn is complete.
All right. My turn. I draw. I'm setting a card. Let's battle. Stop 'em! My monster attacks.
I shall turn the tides. I flip over my face down card. My continuous trap activates.
That was nothing. I'm ending my turn.
My turn. I draw. I set a card face down. Now is the perfect time. I summon a monster in attack position. My monster monster's effect activates.
You really think that'll work? I play my face down card. My continuous trap activates!
My turn is complete.
Here I go. It's my turn. I draw! I play my face down card. My trap activates. This'll be perfect. I special summon a monster! Luck's a part of skill. I activate my monster's effect. I flip over my face down card. My trap activates. Full speed ahead. I special summon a monster.
I shall turn the tides. My monster's effect activates. I'm counting on you. I special summon a monster.
I activate my monster's effect. Set a card. Let's battle. Stop 'em! My monster attacks you directly.
I caught you right in my net. My monster's effect activates.
Why is this happening? I end my turn.
Nice. It's my turn. I shall draw. That's the end of my turn.
It's not supposed to happen like this. It's my turn. I draw. I'm setting a card. Time to battle. Stop 'em! I attack you directly.
Ah! I faced greater dangers out in the waters.
Why is this happening? I end my turn.
It's my turn. I draw. Ah! I have been defeated.
I won! Just like the whole world predicted.
Watch the skills of Duel Academy's leading professor in action!
When you see my monsters, you're gonna have to change your underwear.
Let me educate you on the fact that duelists like you are a dime a dozen.
Duel! It's my turn. From my hand, I activate a spell! I set a card. I set a card. This monster's gonna give you a heart attack. I summon a monster in attack position. I activate my monster's effect.
defeat me!
You big dummy! You really thought you could beat me with those cards? As you like to say, it's time to duel, Yugi.
This is my fight, and my fight alone.
Duel! My turn. I'm setting a card. From my hand, I activate a spell. I set a card. I'm ending my turn.
My turn. I draw. I set a monster face down. I set a card. I set a card.
As if I play my face down card. My trap activates. Full speed ahead. I special summon a monster.
I end my turn.
All right. My turn. I draw. From my hand, I activate a spell. I'm setting a card. Let's battle. Go. Break them down. I'll attack with my monster.
I knew you'd do that. Here's my face down card. I activate a quick play spell.
I'm ending my turn.
Here goes. It's my turn. I draw. From my hand, I activate a spell.
Now's my chance. I flip over my face down card. My trap activates. This'll be perfect. I special summon a monster.
My monster's effect activates. Let's go. I summon a monster in attack position. Let's see how you measure up against this. Here's my face down card. I activate a quick play spell.
You really think that'll work? I play my face down card. My counter trap activates!
It can't be. From my hand, I activate a continuous spell. I set a card. I'm finished with my turn.
It's not supposed to happen like this. It's my turn. I draw. Here goes. I activate my monster's effect.
I can't let that happen. I reveal my face down card. My continuous trap activates.
I set a card. I'm setting a card. Time to battle. You won't get away from me. My monster attacks you directly.
Ugh! You shouldn't get your hopes up yet.
Why is this happening? I end my turn.
All right, let's do this. My turn. I draw. Let's go. I summon a monster in attack position. Let's see how you measure up against this. Battle. This'll work. I attack with my monster.
You can't get away from me. I play my face down card. I activate a quick play spell.
I end my turn.
It's not supposed to happen like this. It's my turn. I draw. I activate my monster's effect. This'll be perfect. I summon a monster in attack position. I activate my the cards needs a defibrillator.